And 2020 is finally coming to a close. Hey Internet, Adrian here for DigitalDojos, and today we're going to be talking about my favorite tech in the year that was 2020. So it goes without saying, 2020 in its unprecedented nature was a year for all of us that affected us across the board. I think with the global pandemic, it's fair to say a lot of us shifted the way that we lived, whether it was the remote work from home culture shift to the remote learning to just generally staying and sheltering in place a bit more. We all had a bit more time on our hands this year. With that, whether we liked it or not, we had to rely much more heavily on technology throughout the year that was 2020. And with that, as we sit on the cusp of 2021, finally, or 2020 and upcoming 2021, I wanted to review and recap my favorite tech in 2020. And I say in rather than of, because I want to highlight tech that helped me get through the year, regardless of when it came out. Things that just, whether it's hardware, software, services, helped me get through the year that was 2020. So with that, hope you enjoy. All links will be in description. If I have full-on reviews of any of the products mentioned, I'll be sure to link to those as well. And with that, let's jump right into it. The first category is all about hardware, so products that I just highly enjoyed throughout the year of 2020. First and foremost is probably the gateway into a lot of why I got a lot of other products on this list, and that was my custom gaming / workstation PC I built at the kind of start of the pandemic in like February, March, before the shelter in place really took full effect, at least in the United States. I knew that a lot of hardware and stuff would probably go out of stock and there'd be a spike in people buying gaming hardware and whatnot. So I wanted to kind of jump on that bandwagon early on, decided to build me a new machine, and with the aspects of both being a workstation PC for video editing and whatnot and a gaming PC for entertainment. I ended up going with my first ever Ryzen build. It's 3700X Ryzen CPU, 64 gigs of Trident G-Skill RAM, terabyte NVMe. It's all powered via the NVIDIA GeForce 2080 Super, the RTX edition, and this is specifically EVGA's XC Ultra, I believe, in terms of the specific GPU. So powerhouse of a build. Again, it's all on the X570 gigabyte Aorus Elite board and housed in an NZXT H710i build. Again, just really, really overall satisfactory across the board. This is the machine that you see right now powering the displays behind me, and everything I threw at it, from video editing, performance, just general workflow, and then on the gaming end, it handled all the titles that I wanted to play tremendously. And it's a machine that I'll be able to upgrade down the road, maybe in a better year that isn't 2020 when all like things like the 3080 were sold out, but it's just handled everything I've thrown at it, and it's definitely been something I've relied on heavily throughout the year. Next up is the Sennheiser HD58X headphones. This is the combination or collab with Sennheiser and Massdrop, the HD58X Jubilee headsets or headphones. This is the first product I purchased prior to getting that custom build PC because I wanted a new pair of headphones, and it was a way for me to justify upgrading all of my accessories, as you'll see on this list, after getting that build. The first thing I wanted was to get a decent pair of headphones that just kind of served all purposes. One, a decent pair of gaming, headphones, something that I can use for enjoying, that new build that I just got, and overall, better sound quality, good for editing and audio monitoring, as well as just general music listening performance. And this checked all the boxes. The Sennheiser 58Xs are just a really great, well-balanced headphone, very comfortable, open back headphones, plug and play compared to like the 6XX. You don't need an amp or DAC or anything to power it. And just overall great sound staging, really precise imaging in terms of being able to tell where things are going on in a gaming environment, as well as just really solid mid-range and just overall vocal performance when it comes to music listening. They're not the bassiest headphones, so if you're like somebody who likes your bass in your music and in gaming, this isn't really going to satisfy you there, I think. But just a general price performance headphone at around $150-ish, you cannot go wrong with the Sennheiser HD58Xs. And what they also did is, again, open the realm for me into higher fidelity audio and hi-fi stuff and audiophile stuff, which I've definitely been going down the rabbit hole, as you'll see on this list. Next up, in tandem with that, the Pro-Ject Carbon Debut Turntable. This was actually a gift I got late in 2020, in December, not too long ago. My wonderful girlfriend got this turntable that I've been lusting after. It's been on my list, and I've been just hesitating to pull the trigger. This is a really great mid-range turntable. I really been wanting to upgrade my Audio-Technica turntable to something a bit more substantial and upgradable. And the Pro-Ject Carbon, in its simplistic design, in nature in that black and white aesthetic, which you can see I clearly love in a lot of my products. And just, you know, the quality and of materials to just the upgradability from the stylus to, again, you know, the world of like audio file and high fidelity, where I can get a better amplifier, better speakers. Right now I have it hooked up to a Shit Audio Mani, that is the phono amplifier. Yes, that is the brand name. And my 2 Sonos Play 5s powering my kind of turntable setup. As a music listener and somebody a big fan of music, I do love that nostalgic, you know, record vinyl LP setup. I'm somebody who likes to listen to my music and albums like through and through, and it kind of forces me to listen to, you know, the music at hand. It's definitely not convenient, but it is just a little great hobby that I've been kind of getting into lately. Next up is my LG C9 OLED TV. So I purchased a 65-inch C9 this time last year in 2019, actually, December of 2019. Got it early 2020, and it's a product I've relied heavily on. I didn't know like how much I would in 2020. Prior to everything kind of happening. In terms of entertainment, I'm binging a lot more movies and TV shows from home now. So having and upgrading to a really great modern TV, one that's an OLED panel, that was one of the boxes I wanted to check. Phenomenal quality. The OLED panel obviously produces really rich and vibrant colors. Games look amazing on it. Movies look amazing on it. TV shows obviously look amazing on it. Obviously, those deep blacks that you get from an OLED panel. But further than that, just the panel in itself, the design, how razor thin, and the aesthetics of it, it just looks like a great TV. And then the other complementary side of the hardware is the software. The LG's OS and the WebOS they kind of throw on it is phenomenal. The performance is great. Upgrading from a Samsung 4K TV, I was really just kind of blown away by the overall performance of this TV and the quality. That said, so much so that I'm going to be upgrading and buying an LG C10 for the living room TV. So again, that's how much I really like this LG line of TVs. I never got to review the C9, but I will definitely be reviewing the C10 when that gets in. I'd say if you're looking for a TV in 2020, if you can get the LG C10, if that's within your budget, definitely look at that. If you can get the C9 on sale, you're not going to be disappointed at all. It's a TV that will last you for years. Next up is Elgato's CamLink. This is a product I relied on heavily in multiple aspects this year in 2020. The CamLink allowed me to hook up cameras like the one I'm shooting with now, my Sony a6400, to my computer, use it as a webcam essentially, and really improve the quality of my Zoom calls. I think a lot of us relied more heavily, especially from a work perspective, on remote meetings, whether it's Zoom, Microsoft Teams, you know, Cisco, whatever product you were using this year. And it really improved my quality there. I took a lot of calls remotely from home and from the new studio. And again, it was a really great kind of upgrade visually on that end, especially because webcams were like sold out this whole year. On top of that, the CamLink is really known and being used for streaming setups. And I did a little bit of that this year, but furthermore, from a production standpoint, in terms of YouTube videos and stuff that I shot this year, it made production that much more easier to hook up my camera, just simply record through OBS, and I was good to go. So CamLink, definitely a favorite product of mine in the year in terms of across the board, from production value to just general ease of use when it came to my remote meetings. Next up, these are more products that are ecosystem of products, not specifically you know, one product in itself. First up being the Sonos ecosystem. Being at home this, you know, year a lot more, working out of the home studio and home office. Music is a big part of my life, and it's a big part of something I have constantly running in the background. And products that really just were in the background that really just helped me get throughout the year was that of the Sonos ecosystem. I have Sonos literally everywhere in my apartment. I have 2 Play 5s here in the studio. I got the Arc this year. I got the Play Bar. I've had the Play Bar. I've had Sonos ones all throughout my apartment, including my bathrooms. It's just an ecosystem that I love. I love the, not just the, it's more so the convenience of how everything works and being able to do multi-room audio. I did a lot of videos on Sonos products this year, and I have more reviews to come. So again, it's just one of those things that was in the background, but the tech that really just I use literally on a day-to-day basis. Last but not least, the world of VR, virtual reality. A way to escape what was going on in the real reality. I purchased a Rift S earlier this year, unknowingly to the world of like all the other headsets out there, or not necessarily that, but in specific the Oculus 2, which came out months after I purchased my Rift S. The Rift S was my gateway into VR, and I'm glad I did get it overall because it really introduced me to what was capable, what the technology is like. And I'll definitely be upgrading to better headsets down the road. But yeah, the Rift S was my entry level into the world of VR games. I've had a lot of fun playing Beat Saber, incorporating things like Thrill the Fight into my at-home workouts and whatnot. And just the overall experience. Like VR was one of the cool things that I have had experienced it in the past to some degree, but never had like a fully dedicated headset. And again, just really, really fun in terms of entertainment factor, the technology factor, the hardware, and, you know, opening my eyes to a world of technology that I haven't really been exposed to. So again, shout out to the VR community. It's definitely one I'm hoping to dive more into in 2021. All right, moving into software and services. These are the apps I relied heavily on in the year of 2020. First and foremost, Notion is actually what I'm using right now on my phone to read this script. It is a note-taking app. It's a database app. It's an app that really, it is whatever you want it to be. That's the cool thing about Notion. I use it heavily this year to organize my thoughts and my own work-related stuff as well as my personal-related stuff. A lot of my life is compacted into Notion this year, and I've been just a huge fan of the product as a whole. Next up, gaming and games as a whole. They really helped me get throughout the year that was 2020. It really helped me on the side in terms of like social interaction. Gaming as a whole has always been something, having worked from home for a majority of my life, that I relied on heavily as a stress reliever, as a form of entertainment, and as a way to connect with my friends, given that I grew up in a military lifestyle where a lot of my friends were moving constantly. Gaming was always a way that we interacted and communicated regardless of where we were physically. And this year, that was just amplified times 10. So early on in the year, Valorant was a huge game that I played a lot of and got heavily into when I got my new rig back here. Pummel Party was another game that I played a lot with friends this year. The thing and common thread about this year was the party game theme. And I was a huge fan of games like Pummel Party, Among Us, you know, all these games that incorporate the friend aspect and being able to play with multiple people. So those are just ones that stood out. Celeste was another one, an indie title that I finally got to play this year and was a huge fan of from like just a single player game perspective. Beat Saber on the VR experience was one that, again, really, really, really fun to kind of get exposed to the world of VR. Reiko VR, which was a horror VR game that I was a big fan of as well, are just some games that stuck out to me this year in 2020. There's a lot more AAA titles, obviously, that came out. I've just recently been playing Cyberpunk and stuff like that, but just initially, those are the games that stuck out to me in the year. Other apps that I really relied heavily on this year, I think from a work perspective and just social interaction, Slack was a big one. Slack in this, you know, Silicon Valley community is a huge app and tool that a lot of people use for communication and chatting, and definitely made my work life easier this year, given that I was heavily remote. Discord from a social interaction with friends and in talking with them. And of course, Zoom. I think that goes without saying, for me at least. Zoom was heavily relied upon this year for me in my remote meetings and interactions with my teams across the ventures that I operate in. As a subset of software, I want to talk a little bit about services that were really big to me this year in 2020. And I think the first two are just, you know, Twitch and YouTube from a live streaming perspective. Outside of playing games this year a lot more, I think I watched people play games even more so this year. I've always been a fan of live streaming. I've always understood the idea and aspect of why people are entertained by it, where some people don't get why you would watch people play games when you can play on them yourselves. I understand, and I think heavily have been influenced by that live streaming community, and Twitch and YouTube this year definitely filled that void for me in 2020. Probably have hundreds of hours of watching streams like Valkyrie or the OTV crew or Quarter Jade or just a couple other those streamers in that circle that I've been a big fan of and followed heavily in this year. Outside of that, YouTube, of course, from a content perspective, content creation, there's a lot of ramp up in people producing and putting out content, which I was a fan of. Your typical technology YouTubers like MKBHD put out a lot of great content this year. Obviously, Snazzy Labs, another one I'm a big fan of. Outside the traditional ones, a couple other channels that really stuck out to me. GMTK, or Game Maker's Toolkit, is one I really, really binged a lot of their content this year. Really great game essays and theories and stuff of that nature. Deep dive type of content was something I was a big fan of this year. Girlfriend Reviews is another one in the world of gaming. RandomFrankP, very famous channel as well in the tech space for inspiration around setups. Andrew Robinson in the world of high-end and hi-fi audio, or audiophile, or also known as the recovering audiophile. Really, really great channel on production quality. Darko audio is another one I was a really big fan of this year in 2020, again, on that trend of audiophile and high fidelity. And Crosstalk Solution and Lawrence Systems are other two channels I was a really big fan of from a pure technology perspective. Having run my business network right this year, having to shift to this whole remote from home culture, those are two channels that really helped me dive into the world of like network and just MSPs and whatnot, and kind of keep up to date in the world of what's happening there. So that wraps up my favorites for the year of 2020. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you found some stuff useful or stuff that you may be able to check out on your own. It goes without saying, again, this year was an unprecedented one in its nature. And I know myself personally, professionally, relied so much on the world of technology and the things around me. And I'm ever thankful for the amount of tech I also still got exposed to in 2020. The products I got to review, the products I was able to purchase, the products I still have sitting in boxes piled up behind the camera right now. Again, it is a year that was tough for many, and again, in other circles like my own in content creation, one that a lot of people took advantage of, took the time to hone their craft and produce more content. And while I did a little bit of both, I took a break and relaxed and did some stuff behind the scenes, I also ramped up in other areas and focused on other businesses. Regardless of that, I am just thankful to have been able to make it throughout the year, to have been able to survive the year and thrive across my ventures, whether it's DigitalDojos or Network Right or my new lifestyle channel that I launched this year. And that is all thanks to all of you out there in the community at large. So I wish you all the best in the year to come. And I, hope that these things like technology and products are a shimmer or a glimpse of entertainment and to take you away from a lot of what's going on in the world out there. And find solace or comfort, I guess, in something that you are passionate about. And as somebody who's been covering this industry for over a decade now, this year was, again, a difficult one across the board and whatnot. So I am happy with the products, the services, the tools that I have at my disposal that allowed me to, again, make it through the year that was 2020. And with that, I am looking forward to all the new content to come in 2021. It was a year for me just to kind of sit back, reflect, relax, listen, and be thankful for what I had at my disposal, as well as what I want to do in the upcoming year as things potentially go back to whatever the new normal is. So from Digital Dojos, I'm wishing you all a happy new year and all the best to come. I'm excited for what I have planned in 2021. As always, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching.